Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Black Ops 2. Happy birthday to you. All right, guys, what's up? It's Jack, and welcome back to another video. And, just like everybody else, I like to browse my timeline over on Twitter every now and then. And it was literally like 10-15 minutes ago to where I saw a post from Treyarch stating that today, as of this recording, in terms of Tuesday, it's Tuesday night at 10:26 right now that I'm recording this. So the video will probably be up either later or sometime early morning on Tuesday or something like that, whenever. And apparently Call of Duty Black Ops 2 came out on this very day 12 years ago. Now, first of all, I have to say, man, time flies. I mean, it's... I guess I'm going to look for OG Black Ops 2 footage that I have here on the channel, most of you guys have probably never ever seen. Because remember, I actually started this channel back in 2015, and around the time when I started the channel, I was still posting Call of Duty Black Ops 2 footage for a long time. I absolutely played the game way after its life cycle, and a lot of us did, up until it was, up until it got to the point to where every single lobby you would find, there would be some sort of cheater or hacker, or whatever you want to call it. So, yeah, man. The reason why I wanted to make this is because, obviously, for those of you guys that have been here for a long time, you guys will know that, in my humble opinion, Call of Duty Black Ops 2 is the greatest Call of Duty ever made. It was peak Call of Duty, so to speak, and I'll never forget it. Back then, I was like 28 years old, and back then, what was interesting about this whole thing was that I didn't have a car back then, and really different point in time in my life, that's for sure. And I remember I woke up super early, and I was so excited that I couldn't even sleep, but that was fine. I woke up super early, and I'm not a morning person, to take the earliest bus that I possibly could to get my butt over to GameStop and to pick up the copy as early as possible. As a matter of fact, I did the same thing with Halo 4, which came out, I believe, 2 weeks prior to Call of Duty Black Ops 2. Believe it or not, they were like within a couple of weeks of each other. It was insane. It was either 1 week apart or 2 weeks apart. It was absolutely insane. And it was truly a great time to be a gamer, because I did the same exact routine when I picked up Halo 4, and the exact same routine, obviously, for Black Ops 2. Let's just say the bus ride home was actually a very fun one, because I just couldn't stop looking at the at the box art, and then of course turning it around and looking at the back. And yeah, Black Ops 2 to me is peak Call of Duty. And the funny thing is, looking back at it now, like for instance, Optic recently had their little thing in terms of like the OG pros against the current pros playing Black Ops 2. I think next year they're going to do Black Ops 4, but anyway, they had that tournament and the OG pros won like 5-0. But regardless of which, when you look at the gameplay of Black Ops 2 compared to the kind of arcade shooters that we have today in the form of, or just shooters in general, whether it's in the form of X-Defiant, whether it's in the form of whatever, right? The pacing has changed, that's for sure, and it's a hell of a lot faster. I mean, when you look at OG Black Ops 2 compared to what we get now, the speed is completely different. And at the same time, even when you look at old gameplays of anybody, like if you go back and you decide to watch, like, let's say Scump's old Black Ops 2 footage of when he was, stomping lobbies. When you look at the skill gap in terms of how players react and how players shoot compared to how players react and shoot today is completely different. Now, I know some of you guys are going to say, well, Jack, that's skill-based matchmaking, but it's like, yeah, okay, well, take a game like X-Defiant, for instance. Look at a game like X-Defiant that has no skill-based matchmaking, or should I say engagement-optimized matchmaking. As a matter of fact, I gotta stop calling it skill-based matchmaking, because that's not what it is. It's engagement-optimized matchmaking. If it was, one thing I will say right now before moving on from this little topic of skill-based matchmaking is, let me tell you this. If it wasn't engagement optimized matchmaking, and if it was skill-based matchmaking similar to how it is in ranked, but slightly a little bit more lenient, kind of like they used to do with the old Halo 2, Halo 3 days, to where it was just like ranked, but it was a little bit less strict, just a little bit less, I would absolutely have, no problem with that whatsoever. You know what I mean? But it's the fact that it's not legit skill-based matchmaking in terms of pubs of what Call of Duty is doing that I disagree with heavily. There's more to it than meets the eye, and the ones that pay for it the most are the good players, so to speak. But anyway, let's keep going. on this on Black Ops 2's birthday. And I remember Black Ops 2. Another reason why Black Ops 2 to me is so special is because, well, it was the game when I finally understood how to properly play Call of Duty. Because up until Black Ops 2, I had absolutely no idea what the hell I was doing. But I always enjoyed the game. As a matter of fact, it even got to the point where I just got frustrated with the game because I couldn't understand like what it was that all these other YouTubers were doing. Because this was around the time when I became exposed to the YouTube community, right? It was around that time, and I was watching all these gameplays, and I'm like, how in the world are these guys not managing to not get shot in the back? How are they not, how is that possible? And here I am, wherever I go, I'm getting shot from left and right. But as soon as I figured out the answer to my question, which came months later from watching a YouTube video, and the person, I'll never forget, it was Woody's a Gamer Tag, mentioning how spawns work very briefly. Ever since then, I got shot in the back almost rarely, like hardly at all. And like all my stats were going up tremendously because I already invested in all the other different parts of Call of Duty. I already invested in like, just playing the game a lot and just my shot getting better and all that kind of stuff. But I wasn't playing properly. I was doing, I wasn't getting into engagements that favored me. It was just about fair gunfight after fair gunfight and not understanding how spawns work, which is a recipe of disaster. You know what I mean? So, and then all of a sudden, like once I figured that part out, those two things right there, it was like everything started to click. And then that's when Call of Duty really, really became that much more addictive. And that's when I started seeing Call of Duty in a completely different way. And it was because of Black Ops 2. And as a matter of fact, when Black Ops 2 was released, it was actually at its time, right? At that time, it was the Call of Duty that actually had the steepest learning curve compared to the other CODs that came before it at the time. And the reason being is because of how everything was designed. There's no doubt about it that the competitive side of Call of Duty kind of leaked into the multiplayer, but it didn't ruin the multiplayer. In some ways, it enhanced it, and in other ways, it kind of took away of the casualness of multiplayer. But that doesn't necessarily mean that there was like skill-based matchmaking or anything like that in the game. I mean, just look at anybody's gameplay, there was none. However, reverse boosting was a big thing back then. We just didn't know about it like we do today. Like some of these big, organizations that are known for putting up 200 pluses in domination or whatnot. I mean, if you go back and if you find footage, you'll see that people were just staring at the sky while these people were shooting them and stuff like that. And these guys were going up against, again, the protective skill bracket back then. You know what I mean? Back then. So it's like they were literally shooting at people that literally just had no thumbs whatsoever and all that stuff. So, and they were getting credited for it, which is pretty much no different than what's going on now in terms of the whole two boxing and all that other stuff that's going on with Call of Duty today. And the thing is, the majority of players, the majority of fans, they know that they're becoming aware of it, but most of them don't know, because when you look at some of these guys' videos or comments in their comment section or whenever they stream, it's like, wow, you're the greatest player ever. And it's like, but it just kind of makes me laugh because, people just simply don't know. They're just uneducated on the matter. But yeah, with that being said, man, Call of Duty Black Ops 2 really was, at the time, it was peak Call of Duty because it really did innovate. It released with all the bells and whistles that you can imagine. You had your ranked released on launch with League Play, which is still the best form of League Play to this day in terms of ranked. You had the first COD Champs event was actually from Black Ops 2, in which Farico won that one. I think it was Parasite, Killa, Karma, and I forget who the fourth player was. And then the pubs, obviously all the game modes in pubs, you had more challenges than ever in terms of things to do in the game. You had your not just gold guns, but then you had diamond. You had really great weapons. The maps were awesome. Like everything about the game was awesome. The streaks are arguably the best streaks that we've ever had in the history of Call of Duty at that time. And my God, like Black Ops 2, really looking back at it now, I mean, we knew we had it good, but at the same time, when Black Ops 2 first came out, because of the issues that it had when it first launched up until they patched them up, specifically a few things with the lag and stuff like that, and the lag compensation and all that. People were actually like, Black Ops 2 was getting a lot of hate in the beginning. And then fast forward sometime later, Black Ops 2 ended up becoming one of those games to where we look back on it and it's aged better and better as the years go on, which is pretty crazy when you think about it. because of what we had been used to back then, and then we had to make a transition for Black Ops 2. And once people got used to that, and once people adjusted, it was like it ended up becoming the greatest ever. Right now, unfortunately, with a lot of Call of Duties, people can, if they adjust to a COD, they'll still have a lot of main issues with it, because of just the way things were developed and innovated back then compared to now. I mean, you had the Pick-10 system, which was the first for Call of Duty as well, and the way the perks worked. I mean, just everything, like everything. It was very, very innovative for its time. It really, the score streak system was introduced. So it basically kept the Call of Duty formula, the foundation of what Call of Duty makes Call of Duty great. It was there, and then they innovated enough to make it different enough to where it didn't sacrifice that foundation. And that's one of the things that Black Ops 2 did so well. And the DLC was great. The zombies was good. I mean, obviously, zombie players will have their own thing to say about that. I never really got into zombies all that much. But, in terms of where zombies lies in Black Ops 2 is something that the community determines. But in terms of multiplayer, Call of Duty Black Ops 2, in my opinion, even though it's not a perfect Call of Duty, because there is no such thing as a perfect Call of Duty, remains the GOAT, in my opinion. And obviously, as far as the campaign goes, and that was back at the time when I still played campaign. And I have to say, I really admired what they did, because at that time, you can create your own class in campaign, which was a first. And to top it all off, another thing that they did was they made it to where the campaign was replayable, because there were multiple endings. I think there was a total of 3. So you had 3 different ways to play the game and 3 different endings to where you can, in terms of choices where you can make. So they even gave the campaign some replayability, and also at that time, any campaign that Call of Duty would release would be a banger, and it would be a really tough choice for a lot of people as to why they would take one over the other. I think Black Ops 1's campaign is slightly better, but Black Ops 2 is better than Black Ops 1's campaign in a sense of the fact that it was replayable because of the different decisions that you could make. But when you're looking at just the story and everything else overall, I mean, they're both pretty damn close, but man, Black Ops 1's campaign is, I don't know, man, that one's pretty goated. But anyway, I'm gonna pretty much end it here. I think I've had enough to say, but yeah, happy birthday to Call of Duty Black Ops 2, the one that still, in my opinion, humbly speaking, remains the undisputed GOAT to this day, and for many reasons. So with that being said, guys, I'd like to hear in the comment section, I'd like to read in the comment section down below what your experiences were with Black Ops 2. Did you enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it? I know some of you guys have mixed feelings about it, because again, there's positives and negatives with every single Call of Duty game. So we're looking back at it now after all these years. How do you view Call of Duty Black Ops 2? Despite the fact that you may have liked it or not liked it or whatever it is, how do you view it? How do you think Black Ops 2 has aged overall? Now, obviously, in the cheating department, it hasn't aged very well at all. But when you look at it as a game in terms of what it was and what it brought to the table in comparison to what we're getting these days, how would you say, what kind of rating would you give a Call of Duty Black Ops 2? What are your thoughts? What are your feelings about the game? I'd really like to know down below. And with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'd like to thank you all for taking the time to watch and or listen, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.